Hey y'all, it is Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk New Year's resolutions. So, new year, new me, new glasses to replace the ones that snapped in half on Christmas Eve. Normally, around New Year's time, I feel like I have one of two responses. I either get super overwhelmed by the amount of things that I want to accomplish in the coming year, or I just get super excited and inspired by the new year and all the things that I want to get done, that I make a bunch of ridiculous and completely unattainable goals that peter out really quickly because they're just totally unrealistic. This year, I am honestly just feeling really thankful for 2021. I felt like I learned a ton in that year about my craft, about writing, and about the publishing world and how publishing sort of comes about, and also just about myself and the kind of person I am, the kind of writer I am, and sort of the avenues that I think would work best for me. I also feel like I've done a ton of writing this year. So quick recap, I did some rewrites and preliminary querying for my YA contemporary project Operation Stars. I wrote a sequel for that project beginning to end in the spring. I have roughly 270 pages of my ongoing epic fantasy project done, roughly 60 pages, over 20,000 words of a Peter Pan retelling, and I feel like I did a lot of things this year that would have surprised my past self, like, for example, AuthorTube, all by the grace and inspiration and motivation of God, obviously. Could there have been more accomplished? Absolutely. I could have been way further with my epic fantasy project. I really let that slide, especially in the past few months. I could have tried to do a few more live writing sprints, although my household was kind of larger than usual over the past little bit, so I'm not sure that my bandwidth could have supported that, but maybe that's just an excuse. I could have done more rewrites on Operation Stars, which I'm now starting. I could have read more, I could have written more. There's always more things, but all in all, I'm just really thankful for the things that I was able to get accomplished with God's help and just feeling the blessings right now. So that was 2021. It was a weird year in a lot of ways, but it was also a great year in a lot of ways, obviously because God was working and present in every second of it. And now, moving forward into 2022, I have lots of goals for myself, but I also have some resolutions, like things that I want to sort of work on in myself, changing some of my habits. Number one, over the next few months, at least for the beginning of the year, maybe for the winter semester, I want to avoid getting into another show. I'm not normally a show person, I never was before, but I feel like COVID and Disney Plus kind of changed that for me, and especially over the fall, that became part of my nightly routine. You unwind at night by watching an episode or two of your show, which is fine and would be fine. It's a way to relax, but at the same time, I feel like I did that often when I should have been writing, and that was so bad for my productivity, and I know that I could have made way more progress in the fall on my epic fantasy project if I had been focusing on that instead of using my free time at the end of the day for my show. So, going forward, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to watch anything in the evenings, especially during the school year, but what I do want to say is that if I do, I want it to be something that is just chill that I've already seen, watching some Good Luck Charlie with my family or something, instead of getting hooked on a new show that I'll be tempted to binge, instead of using my evenings for being productive and writing. Number two, I really want to be more diligent about Instagram. That is a platform that I have definitely neglected over the past year or so. I'm still not totally comfortable with it, but that is sort of my resolution for this year. I want to get more comfortable with it. I definitely think that that can be a really great way to encourage people as well, not just on AuthorTube, and so I want to push myself to just get more comfortable with it all in all. I'm not planning on putting a ton of content out, but just more than I have. Baby steps. I've actually met a lot of really cool people through Instagram, and they've become a major source of encouragement for me. Some people have found me through the channel and then DM'd me on Instagram. Other people have found me just through Instagram, and I've been able to have some really uplifting conversations with some really lovely people. In general, if you ever want to chat about writing or Jesus or whatever, I would love to hear from you, so I will drop my Insta in the description below. Feel free to reach out. On a more specific note, one thing with regards to Insta that I really want to tackle this year, Reels. they really scare me. I'm super intimidated by them. I don't really get them, to be honest, but I don't want to be defeated by them. I think it's all part of just stretching myself and pushing my boundaries, pushing myself out of my comfort zone to get more familiar with this platform and just to get more familiar with all these things that I really didn't know would be that important for building a writer platform, but they are. Number 3, my writing routine is very sporadic. I basically write just whenever I feel like it, and if I don't, I just don't write. It's sort of a flawed system. I feel like any writer would tell you that if you only waited until the times when you felt like writing, you would never get anything done, which, I mean, I get. I'm experiencing that. So, I want to be more diligent than that. My resolution is to write every night. I'm not going to set like a word limit for myself or even like a page quota that I need to meet, but I do really want to just make that an unbreakable habit that at the end of the day, in the evenings, which is when I'm most awake, when I have the most sort of free, empty time, I want to make a point of writing. Now, admittedly, as a segue into resolution number 4, I'm not sure if that writing goal will like interfere with my hopes for reading in the coming year. I sort of talked about this a bit in my winter writing goals video, which you can find right here. My goal was to read 3 pleasure novels on top of all the novels and theoretical stuff that I will inevitably have to read in my winter semester. My worry is that if I commit to writing every night, I'm not going to feel like reading on top of that. I guess my resolution is to just make sure I read, even if I don't have a consistent like routine for it. And it also kind of bugs me, even though I consider myself a very bookish person, when I sit down and try and like think of all the books that I really love, my list is actually pretty short. And that might have less to do with the amount of time that I spend reading and more to do with my extremely high and specific standard for the books I read. But the point is, I just feel like when I actually look at that very short list, I can't help but think like, wow, I need to broaden my reading horizons. Number 5, as a more like general resolution for this year, I kind of want to sort of work on my attitude toward the writing journey, change the way I think about it, and just to be more of a go-getter. Like, I feel like the past year and the past few years have been sort of a recovery period for me. I had a bit of a writing flop experience as a young writer, and then after that, I feel like it took me a while to sort of rebound and get to a place where I could put all that in God's hands and not feel bound and tied to that one failure. Thank the Lord, I really do feel like I'm in a better place now where, yes, that happened, but I'm hopeful about the future. I don't feel tied to that. I recognize that I have grown and learned a lot since then. This past span of time has been a lot about reaching that place. Now that I've spent some time in that place of peace and just surrendering it to the Lord, I feel like it's time to sort of kick it up a notch and put more effort into being a go-getter. My resolution for this year is to sort of walk that line between doing everything I can to make those goals happen and being diligent, doing my best, but also to leaving the outcomes ultimately in God's hands, which I feel like will be hard because that is a tough balance, but I know that it can be done, and that is something that I really, really do want to maintain in the year ahead, for me to feel like I've done all I can, but to find peace in being grateful to God for whatever comes of it, even if nothing comes of it. One other thing that I am super thankful for in the last year is the growing that I've been able to do through AuthorTube. I mean, when I started the channel, I was absolutely terrified of it, and thank God I feel like I've reached a place where I can enjoy it and like be myself for the most part. So that is a major resolution too. I want to just work on growing in that authenticity and just being absolutely authentic, not just on AuthorTube, but on Instagram and on my blog, and just in all aspects of my life and in my sort of writing life as well. I've realized on a spiritual level that I want to be an encourager. I'm not the bravest or the most articulate or the most knowledgeable, but using my passion for writing to encourage other people, that I think I can do, and that's what I want to do. But I've realized that I can only do that if I'm willing to be totally open and transparent and just authentic, just be myself. So yeah, goal number 6, I guess, is just be authentic and grow in that authenticity across the board in 2022. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to let me know what your resolutions are in the comments below. I don't normally actually document them in any way, so I feel like this might help me to be motivated to accomplish them. And maybe if you drop them in the comments below, it will motivate you and give you extra incentive to actually meet your goals this year. I would love it if you would like and subscribe or share with anybody who you think would enjoy this video. And as always, remember to spend some time in the clouds today.